tight for time this morning, guys. So.
Yeah, no problem. It started. Off you go.
Okay, all right. So last time I talked about webinars, and I'll come back to that. Foundation knowledge, mortgage-free, sovereign reserve credit, sovereign reserve tax, natural justice, wrongdoing. Come back to that. I want to just touch back on that in a bit. The theme of those webinars is primarily how to access the Sesquive V Trust, either your own trust or wrongdoers' trusts, to create new money to discharge debts, taxes, anything else. I'm going to come back to that because I know there's been some discussions about that since we had our last council meeting. My website, if you take a look at ianclifford.com, it's been upgraded. I'd say it's pretty much ready to show people now. It's very good. Manal's team's done a very good job on it. I'm happy with what it says, how it says it. So the reason that's important is because, the Simon Goldberg nonsense, and there's some good information on there which would help, I think, for the positioning of who I am and what I do and what we do as an organisation. So have a look at it, ianclifford.com. I think you'll find it to be pretty good. I'm quite impressed with it. It says everything I want it to say, and it's nicely laid out. It's very simple, and I think it's quite powerful. And we will be able to use it for marketing purposes to drive more people in via the webinar route and then into the platform. We talked about YouTube and setting up a YouTube channel and to promote our webinars, to try and drive more people in through webinars, etc. And I think that's work in progress. We talked about the monetisation of liens against wrongdoers, and this is against the Sesquive V Trust of wrongdoers, and we touched on that. And that's primarily the evolutionary. I'm going to come back to evolution in a minute on the today's format agenda for today's meeting. The big step forward in how to go from private to public is staying in the private and looking to monetize against the Sesquive V Trust, all in the private. I'll come back to that because I want to say more about that in a minute. We talked about Polaris Bank, abundance, infinite returns. I've had a lot of structural thinking since last Tuesday. I've just uploaded, for those in the team, on the abundance team, a new structure where we don't need Polaris Bank. We don't need a one bank solution for everything we're doing. I've come up with a way, if anybody wants to go into detail, I'm happy to do it, but not this morning because I am a bit tight for time. I've come up with a multiple bank solution. So if you're interested in the abundance and you want to know how it all works, if you're in the team, have a look at all my notes I've just put in there this morning. If not, then get access to it or get a copy of it from Ange if you're interested in it. I don't want to go through all of it, but very, very high level. We don't need a centralized bank for the company and a centralized bank for all of the clients. We can have multiple banks. I figured out a way to do it all. I've noted it all down in the team. If you're interested, please get a copy of it. Next week, we'll go through any questions if you like, because I am a bit tight for time this morning. We talked about chartered accountant, and I think we've made some good progress there. I know Amy's making good progress there, and I think that's quite key, obviously, for what we're doing, because everything we are doing is centrally focusing on the recoupment of securities, the accessing of the Sesquive V Trust. That's the engine of what we're doing at Matrix Freedom. I know everybody knows that, but I'm going to keep on saying it because it's very central and it's the message that we need to percolate through all of the different departments and teams and agents and clients. If you were on the webinar last night that Sims hosted and I did the Q&A, it went on for a couple of hours. I would strongly recommend, if you've got a couple of hours, put it on fast, and please come and watch that webinar, because I cover a lot of stuff on that webinar that I want everybody to know about where we are in our thinking and our evolution going forward. So please, if you have a bit of time, put it on fast speed, get a copy of it, play it, because I go through a lot of questions and answers which are all very relevant to what it is we're doing in delivering solutions for our clients. So that was last week. Let's go into the matrix solutions and their evolution. Since last Tuesday, there's been quite a few conversations going on. I've had multiple meetings with all different members of our council about the evolutionary journey that we've been on since 2019. And I just want to recap on some big milestone events and why they've happened, and why it's all very, very good news, and why we should not be afraid and have any fear whatsoever with our clients and our agents. We started in 2019, and we were at that stage. If you were around in 2019, you'll remember all this. We at that stage were under a belief system that we would be able to monetize people's mortgages, remove them from the register by evidencing that mortgages were void at law, and the indemnity scheme at the Land Registry would qualify people to have their mortgage removed. That was 2019. If you were around in 2019, you'll remember all that. That was based on huge amounts of evidence. If you go into Mortgage Free in the technical libraries, you can see all of the evidence that I brought together to create that belief system. I wrote a 130-page technical guide. I pulled research from all over the place to write a technical guide to justify why the Land Registry have a requirement to indemnify people if there is mistakes in mortgages. That was 2019 moving into 2020. Michael O'Byrne-Sear at the Great British Mortgage Swindle was trying to get indemnity payouts from the Land Registry using a similar strategy to what we were doing in 2019 moving into 2020. He had a go at it, and in sometime in 2020, I can't remember exactly when, later on probably, his approach to Land Registry it was obvious to me that he was not going to get anywhere without huge budget behind legal action in the public court system. So what did I do about it? I recruited Andy, and Andy came in with private law remedy. Yeah, so that's 2020 moving into 2021, and we have developed a private law remedy which we've been offering until a few months ago, when it became clear that moving from the private, that's the privately agreed facts of the parties, into the public, into public courts, is fraught with risk and danger, and probably has a fairly low probability of working. So is everybody up to speed on the two significant evolutionary steps? Yeah. Claims against Land Registry require the system to be acting honourably, require the system to admit that mortgages are void nullities. It's not going to happen, guys, as Michael O'Byrne-Sear found out. I strongly believed it would happen in 2019 moving into 2020. It's not going to happen because the system is rigged, as I say on all the webinars. Private law should work because it is truthful, it is based in equity, everything about it is very honourable. But again, if you try and take privately agreed law into the public court system, the public court system is going to rig it. Because in the public, they're never going to admit to privately agreed truth, equity, facts, honour, and all that stuff, because the public system is rigged. So, evolutionary step number 3 is to stay in the private. that's going after the Sescavay Trust in the private, never going into the public and trying to get remedy in the public for mortgages. So these are three significant evolutionary steps. Each one has a higher probability of success than the previous one. It's all very, very good. I know that we've got massive numbers of people, all at different levels of understanding, all at different levels of comprehension about what all these things mean. I get it. Anything like this that we are doing, we are not copying somebody else's tried and tested business model. So I want everybody to get it into their minds that what we are doing is evolutionary. We're not just buying a manual on how to do a business and copying it, and it's been rolled out for many, many years before, and there's loads of track record. We are pioneering and trying to find remedy against a rigged system. So we've all got, if we're not already aware of that, I'd be surprised, but I want to reinforce that, because when you have discussions with agents and clients, they've got to understand the difficulties and the challenges of finding remedy in a system that is rigged against the consumer. That is what we're doing. We are going to achieve it. I will not rest until we have achieved these objectives for all of our clients. I think you all know how many hours I put in. I will continue to put in huge numbers of hours until we have solved the problems for the clients. I say all of this and many more things on last night's webinar. Okay, so I want you all to know that if something has to change because we find a better way, it is good news, not bad news. It's always good news. When you evolve and when you grow and when you learn, it's all good. It's called evolution. It's obvious, but that's what we need our agents and our clients to understand. We are not copying somebody else's business model who's been doing this for 50 years with a 100% track record. We have a big challenge in everything we're doing. Nothing of this significance is ever easy. There's lots of problems and you've got to overcome them, and you've got to keep on overcoming problems to get to where you need to get to. So I don't want to sort of bang on about this and keep beating the drum, but I've had lots of conversations with all different parties, some people on this meeting, some people who aren't on this meeting. And what is fairly clear to me is that there is a gap in understanding. Every time we modify what we are doing, it's for the benefit of our members. It's not for our benefit. It's for the benefit of increasing the probability of success for our members. And we will keep on doing that because it's the only way, because it is evolution. And that's what evolution is like. When we have discussions with clients about, have you done it? Is it going to work? The best policy, in my opinion, is just to tell the truth. We are going to find the solution to everything we are offering. We don't have all of the answers today for everything. We will find the answers and we will overcome any issues that come along, because that's what we are doing as an organisation. I've seen a few emails recently that are a little bit concerning. I want to leave that for today and come back to that next week. I want to make sure that our message that goes out to our members is truth. We don't have all the answers. We don't. It's truthful. We need to improve. We need to evolve. We need to overcome problems. We are not copying, as I say, a model with a tried and tested 50-year track record. We are pioneering an evolution and evolving this as we go along. Every time we make an improvement, we're increasing the probability of success for the members. And that's how evolution works. So that's on the mortgages. On credit settlement, let's have a look at that, because these are the two areas that I want to touch on for this meeting. Credit settlement. In the private, credit can be settled with money of account. You can issue money of account and settle credit. The problem is that some of the banks, some of the credit card companies will never accept that that is a system that works, because you're trying to go from the private into the public. Some banks, some credit card companies will accept it and they won't frustrate the process. The majority won't. We have learned this in the last year. So again, rather than just putting up with it or closing up the shop, we need to evolve. We need to improve. We need to learn from the challenges and evolve and improve. So what am I saying on the webinar for the sovereign reserve credit? I'm saying if settlement is going to frustrate either your credit score, your job, if you believe it's a risk, then you need to make a minimum payment on whatever credit arrangement you've got. And I 100% understand that is different from what we were saying a year ago. I 100% understand it. I have a bad credit score myself because Barclays have fucked up my credit file by design. So I 100% understand that if you have a bad credit file, that is a problem in the public. I get it. I am in the same position. Did we know that a year ago? No. If we had known that a year ago, we wouldn't have carried on with the process that we've rolled out for our members. We now know it. So what are we doing about it? We're going to bring a remedy. I'm saying on the webinar, which hasn't gone out live, by the way, because we've held it back until we were all on board and we've all got our understanding of this, and we've all managed our documents and all the rest of the things we've got to do to make this consistent message for the members. We are going to offer people more information on the platform. We're going to inform them that if they're concerned about their credit score, if they're concerned about their job, either don't do this or make a minimum payment on your credit arrangements until either settlement works or it's frustrated. If it's frustrated because the banks and the credit card companies dishonour it, we're going to create new money by going after the saviour trusts of the directors of the credit institutions. That is good for Matrix Freedom members. I'll come back to you in a minute, Anne, if you don't mind. That is very, very good for Matrix Freedom members because it brings new money to Matrix Freedom, because we are going to liquidate against the saviour trusts of the wrongdoers with the process that you're all familiar with. The client, we're going to create new money for them to discharge their credit. Discharge is the only way you can pay anything because there is no money of substance. Again, I say all of this on the webinar last night. You cannot pay anything because there's no money of substance. You can only discharge. The whole system has been set up for discharge. That's how the system works. So if you have money and you can discharge your credit, discharge your mortgage, discharge your taxes, you are working 100% compliantly to how the public system works. They cannot push back, they can't fight you because you are giving the system exactly what it wants and how it's been designed. So ultimately, discharge is how the system is being set up. And that is what we ultimately offer our clients if settlement on credit, loans, credit cards doesn't work because the banks, not us, it's the banks who are dishonouring the payment of the settlement via payment of account, money of account. Everyone's got to get their head around this. When credit institutions and banks dishonour a settlement, it's not us by design engineering that. That's the banks dishonouring the settlement via money of account. It's not us, and we can't predict in advance whether they're going to dishonour it or not. But now that we know it's causing problems, and I know, Fiona, and I 100% appreciate the problems that you're going through, and I 100% understand the difficulties that some of the clients are in, and what I'm going to try and find remedies for everybody who's in that position. I didn't do this by design, guys. I didn't go into this thinking that we're going to screw people's credit files up. I went into this believing that we were going to find a solution to correct people's credit files, and we may still be able to do that with what Andy's working on right now. If we can't, I will find another way of helping people get out of difficulty. That is my pledge. I'm a man of my word, and I will not rest until I have done that, because I understand the effect of it for people. As I say on the webinar last night, I actually care about what people get out of this. I'm not just doing this to make a load of money. I want to help people. I want you all to know that. If you don't already know that, that's why I work 7 days a week. Not because Iain needs to earn loads of money. I had loads of money before. Kevin had loads of money before. It's a nice thing to have, but it doesn't give you fulfillment, in my opinion. What gives you fulfillment is achieving objectives and helping people. That's the way I'm wired up, and I want you all to know that. Okay? I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. We have problems. We try and overcome them. That's all we're trying to do here. And I want people to understand it. From the heart, that's what's going on here. We don't go into things deliberately trying to cause people problems. That's not who we are. When problems come up, we have to find solutions for them, which is what we're doing, which is what I'm doing, what all you guys are doing, what we are doing as a team. Okay? The big learning that I have had in the last 2.5, 3 years is that the public and the private do not mix. I'll say it again. The public and the private do not mix. It's oil and water. It's Mars and Venus in the same universe that work independently, but they don't merge together. They're not supposed to work together. So we need to stay in the private for all of our solutions if we're going to avoid frustrations and problems that we're getting at the moment. That is why I've redesigned things to go after. I like the strategy of staying in the private, going after the Sesquiv AV trusts, keeping everything in the private, discharging debt, discharging mortgages, discharging taxes, because that is how the system is being designed. You're not fighting the system. You're actually in harmony with how the system is being designed. So for those people that think that Matrix Freedom is a rebel organisation that is going to disrupt all the banks and disrupt all the governments and disrupt everything, they don't understand what we're doing. We are working in harmony with the system. The system is set up for discharge. That is what we're offering our clients. We're not enemies of the banks. We're friends of the banks. We're not enemies of anybody, because we're going to give the system what it needs, how it's been designed. As I say on the webinar last night, if you want to play chess, you've got to understand how chess is played on the board. That's what we're trying to do. And we're going to do it. Because I'm not going to rest until we've achieved the objectives. Now, in order for us to get to where we need to get to and bring solutions with the least amount of problems and frustrations for our members going forward, we need to do more research. We don't do enough research as an organisation now. We do great sales, we do not bad marketing, we do pretty good admin. We don't do enough research. There are huge amounts of there's a huge amount of information out there that we don't know about as an organisation. We need to do more research. We're going to establish a research department. And that department is going to look at everybody else in this space and see what it is they're doing and how they are doing it. That research is going to take us to the next level. There's lots of things that we don't know. We don't know everything that's out there. We need to do more research to find stuff out. We then need to evaluate it with a panel of experts. Steve, Andy, me, Dan, anybody else that we bring in that can look at the information from all different sources on anything we're trying to achieve and work out what is the best way forward. Then we're going to pilot things. We've already started to do that. So we can try and test things out before we go live with all of our clients. Okay? We have not been good enough in research. If we had done better research in 2019, we would have known that there was problems with trying to get the Land Registry to remove mortgages. We would have known that you're going to have a problem with your credit score. We would have known that private and public don't mix. We would have known all of these things. We didn't know them because we didn't do enough research. That is where the problem has been. So we're going to correct it going forward. Now, it's been fed back to me that I'm a bit distant and many of the teams and staff never met me. I'm going to rectify that by coming into the office on a monthly basis. I want to offer anybody in the office the opportunity to come and sit with me if they've got something to talk about and thrash it out. If it's a problem, if it's whatever it is, whether it's praise, whether it's criticism, whatever it is, I'm going to give that access to people to do that. I want feedback. I want warts and all. I don't want sugarcoating. I want the truth. I'll come back to you in a minute, Sims, if you don't mind. Now, I also want to provide the opportunity for a group, for the internal team to come to questions with Iain. I did it last night for the agents and the prospects and clients. I think it's a good format. I want people to have internally the opportunity to put their questions down. If they don't want to put their name on a question, that's okay. I want them to do that, and we'll have an internal webinar for everybody to come to that can ask their questions, put their opinions over, get discussion going on a webinar. I think that's going to be good. When we had Mattgate, we brought everyone together. We had people asking questions. I thought it was a very positive thing to do, and I want to repeat it. That's pretty much all I've got to say, guys. I'm a bit passionate this morning because I've had quite a bit of stress feedback to me. And I do put a lot of hours in, and I'm quite tired. I've worked so many hours on all sorts of things, and I'm a little bit tired. So if I have offended anybody, I apologise. It's not my intention. I'm talking from the heart. Okay, guys? I don't like some of the things I'm hearing coming out of the teams. It's not the right energy. We're not here to give people problems. We're here to help people. And we need to be better. We need to be truthful and recognise our shortcomings and correct them, and we need to improve. And that includes me. I've got loads of shortcomings, a whole list of them. And I try to improve them all the time. Andy, you wanted to say something earlier?
Yeah, it was only fleshing out what you're saying. You know, what we've done is not invalidated by the evolutions that we're making. What we've done has worked, yeah, and it was only ever, as we always said from the beginning of the process exit, that there were various options of enforcement liquidation, you know, which were exhausting. and you exhaust those closest to home first. And the one that we always knew was the kind of ultimate solution for everything is the one that also takes the most time to develop with the IRS. So the process has worked, and it's just really the exiting. You exhaust your easiest options first, and then you always know you've got this ultimate option with the IRS there, but it also takes the most time to develop, and it's an international thing, so it's not as close to home as some of the other things. So you make sure that you can't do those because they're a bit easier if you can do them first. So that's an important thing to bear in mind. And also the other thing is just to elaborate on when Iain's saying, look, if people want to save their credit, they can make minimum payments. He didn't. I just want to add on. He didn't say that those are protested payments.
Yes.
You know, because after a settle's been done, it is settled in fact. Okay, and the problem we're having is in fiction, it's not being seen as settled. Okay, it's in contrary to the facts. So any payments made are protested payments. All right, and protested payments are basically reserving your rights to claim them back. All right, and you know, there are various ways you can do that. One of the simplest ways that we actually did used to use for such things was the BACS direct debit indemnity reclaim, and we used to claw back payments like that. They're a little bit more careful on that since people started using it to, say, claw back all their mortgage payments for the last 10 years and stuff like that. Some people actually got those clawed back, but yeah, for a couple of years worth of small payments on a matter where you've got evidence of fact, that may well be a possibility. But the point is that and we've said this with people who want to stop paying their mortgages as well. So this is a kind of across the board message. If you even though once they've agreed the facts, if people are not comfortable with the threat of legal proceedings on the public side of mortgages, then you know we say, well, look, if you don't want any trouble while we get this sorted out in the private, you know, just keep to cancel your direct debit, change it to a standing order, and put in the reference something saying could just be U.P. capital, you know, under protest, so that you can come back to a note and say, well, they're all protested payments, and I'm reserving my rights to add them on over in the private or claim them back later. So that was the only other point. I think there was something else that cropped up. I've forgotten it now. So yeah.
I mean, basically what you've got going on here, guys, is you've got a very difficult set of problems to solve. Then you've got a number of options on how to solve them. And then you've got probability. What is the probability of success of option A, option B, option C, option D? And unless you've been doing it for many, many years, you don't know what the outcome is going to be unless you start doing it in many cases. So if you do more research and you look at what other people are doing all around the world in this area, you can establish the probability. You can give an estimate of probability of success by looking at what other people are doing. We're not the only organisation in the world that is focusing on these subjects. There's lots of organisations around the world that are doing this in all different ways. We need to look at them all. That's what I'm saying. We're not good at research. There's so much that we don't know that we need to know. Even if 90% of it is rubbish and we don't use it, we need to know it. So that is what I have concluded in the last week or two, well, the last few weeks. We need to do more research. We don't do enough. It's our biggest weakness. Yeah, because if you do more research, you can increase the probability of your processes working for your clients. You've got to consider everything out there. You can't discount anything until you've had a good look at it. We haven't done enough of it. We're going to do more, lots more. So that's my biggest takeaway from today's session is we're going to do more research. Okay, the research that I have done on the IRS, the Department of Treasury, the Sescavavy Trust, how the system is being set up, I am more confident today about how we're going to get remedy for our members than I've ever been, ever. Now, you guys aren't at my level of confidence because you don't know what I know, because you haven't done all the research. on how the system works. I've been studying, reading, watching videos, reading everything, triangulating everything for the last 5-6 weeks on this subject. The more I look at it, the more it makes sense to me and the more confidence I get. If you all knew everything that I've learned in the last 5-6 weeks about how the IRS system works, about how the Cestive AV Trust works, about all the subjects connected to that, you would not be concerned about what we're doing. I can guarantee it. If you had the level of knowledge that I have attained in the last 6 weeks about how the system works, you'd not be afraid of anything. It is the ultimate remedy. And to be quite honest and quite transparent, we should have been focusing on it a long time ago. And we haven't done. So that is a consequence of not doing enough research. If we'd done more research, we would have had more options open to us and we could have avoided some of the frustrations. So there's only 3 things you can do. You can carry on doing the same as you've always done and get the same results. Yeah? We're not going to do that option. You can do nothing and go home and everybody else disappears into the wind. And Iain gets a massively bad reputation to load on top of what the bullshit act that's already in the market about me. We're not doing that one. Or we can get better, do better research, come up with better options, and get better and evolve. And that's the one we're going to do. And that's the one we are doing. And we have to be honest. We have to look in the mirror and say, is it our fault that we might have caused some problems to our clients? And when I look in my mirror, the answer that comes back is absolutely yes, it's our fault. And I don't have any problem telling a client that, because it's the truth. What are we going to do about it? Get better. I don't want anybody in our organisation bullshitting our clients. Tell them the truth. Tell them that we're learning. Tell them that we are evolving. Tell them that we're working hard to get them a result. They will respect you for it. Do not bullshit them, because they will not respect you for bullshit. They will respect the truth. Everybody does. They might not like it for a while, but they respect it because it's honourable. It's pure light side energy, truth. I've seen some emails that people have sent me in the last few days that quite concern me about what appears to be bullshit going out into the members. It's going to stop, guys. Tell the truth. Get everybody in your teams to tell the truth. We are not perfect. We don't know everything. We are here to get a solution, but we don't always have all the answers. We're going to find them because that's what we do. That's who we are. Don't bullshit. Nobody should bullshit. These webinars that I'm doing, questions with Iain, I'm telling the truth. You will all see, if you don't already know now, that when you tell the truth, you get respect. You don't always get people liking you for telling the truth, but you always get respect. All right, so let's just keep telling the truth. If we've got a problem, tell the truth about what caused it. I don't mind admitting to anybody that we have caused some problems. We have not been fast enough. We have evolved very quickly. We are working hard to solve all the issues, but we're not perfect. People will respect it.
Yeah, everyone I've spoken to who, has had some real concerns, And I tell them the story of what we've been through, and I'm just honest about everything we've been talking. Basically, I might as well have been having this meeting today talking about, what we're talking about. And they just appreciate transparency, and thank you for being so candid. Thank you for being so transparent. And I feel much better now. And thank you for taking the time to explain to me. And I won't be listening to all this rubbish going on elsewhere. So thanks very much. And they just feel greatly relieved. And I'm sure many of you have had similar experiences in the teams, when you do have those conversations. And it always comes across better in a conversation because people can hear in the tone, and there's all those kind of subconscious cues that are removed from written text communication and stuff like that. So I think identifying the people who are most need a candid talking to, and talking to them is probably something that would do a lot to help with any rumours flying around in the networks.
Yeah. For those people who've got a consequence of a bad credit score, I believe, and we're not going to be publishing this unless we've got until we've got more confidence in it and more ability to deliver it. I believe that we can provide people with access to their saviour trust to remedy if they need credit, if they need to buy something, if they need to repair something. I believe that we can use that, accessing their saviour trust, to provide them that remedy. That if you can't get a mortgage because your credit score's been fucked, I believe that we can help you buy a house going forward. If you can't get a job because your credit score's been affected, I believe that we can give you financial abundance where you don't need that job anymore. I believe there's always a remedy to every problem.
Yeah, it may be not the remedy they were expecting or wanted, but like if they stick with us, they're going to get. And I say this on my calls as well. If you knew what was coming down the pipeline, you'd let go of all this stuff that you think is a problem now for the future you're going to have. But it's taking its time to build it. So
if we do more research, if we evaluate all the options better than we have done, if we apply them in pilot schemes before we go live, if we then roll out our solutions with more track record on a pilot scheme, then I think we're going to avoid upsetting anybody going forward. We haven't done that well enough in the past. But let's be honest, guys. This is a truth meeting here. When you set up any venture, I don't care what it is, you don't know everything that you need to know to make it work when you first set it up. Don't care what it is. You learn as you go along. You evolve as you go along. Every business does this. Most businesses in the first 5 years are fucking shit shows internally. I've got lots of experience of building stuff. Nothing works smoothly, perfectly for a few years. It's a shit show internally. It's just the truth. Anybody who's built anything, any business will know that. You have all kinds of problems for the first few years that you've got to overcome. And your bandwidth is always stressed because there's 100 things to do and you've only got a limited amount of time to do them all. You have to do your best. I don't think we've got anybody who's not doing their best. So all we've got to do is be better. We've got more resources now than we did have before. So with more resources, we can do better, can't we? That's how we're going to be. It's evolution. In 2019, there was no money. It was just me. With no staff, no teams. I recruited Matt because I didn't have the bandwidth to recruit all the people. Didn't have the money either. That didn't work out the way I was expecting it to. It's an evolution. We got rid of it. We moved on, improved it. That's a very good example of evolution. It's a very good example of a shit show that gets it better. That's what it's like, guys. I'm sorry to break it to you if you don't already know this stuff. That's what it's like at the beginning of any venture. It's challenging. You don't have all the answers. You battle against the tide. You don't have the resources. You don't have the bandwidth. You recruit lots of people that don't work out. It's just the way it is, guys. It's just the nature of building anything. What we're going through here is not unusual. But what we need to do is we need to be honest about what our problems are. We need to put positive solutions in place to rectify them. And we need to keep on going and letting all of our members know that we have the intention to provide to them what they want and what they bought. And that's all we can do. What else can we do? And I think if we had this honest conversation with people that are in a bad place, the majority of them will respect us for what we're saying. Majority. Some people won't. You can't please everybody. But the majority who recognise what it is we're trying to achieve here would also know that it's not easy doing what we're doing. It's not. If it was easy, there'd be 100 matrix freedoms out there in the world. There isn't. It's not easy. It doesn't mean so we can't achieve it. Sims, how did it go last night with the Q&A, in your opinion?
Yeah, no, it went really well. The questions you asked, I mean, we had really, really good feedback. I know we didn't get through to all the questions because obviously we finished about 9 o'clock last night. I think we could have carried on where we were going. I mean, there's still a lot of questions that were being asked and we didn't answer. Yeah, could have carried on to midnight. But no, I mean, the feedback was really, really good from the questions that were asked. I had made a note on what questions have been asked, so if anybody wants to know what those questions were,
it would be really good to get a copy of the feedback. If we got that on like a spreadsheet or something, that might be quite useful. And actually we could use that to encourage others to come and watch as well, but just for us internally to see what clients are saying as feedback to those.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Just so you know,
there won't be
for the
feedback
record,
though, will there? It wasn't live, or have I misunderstood?
That was
no, it's live.
Oh, last night's was live.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just for the record, so everybody understands, be it if it was live or recorded, anything that a client submits, be it question or feedback, we get a copy of it. So everything. So if it's recorded and they ask a question or they give a feedback or what they thought of the recorded webinar, we will see everything that comes through. Hence why when there is a webinar and I forward it to all the teams, you can see what questions they submit at registration and during the presentation. So last night we had a lot of information come through. There was a lot of questions. I know we didn't answer them because I always get told off half the time by the attendees because not answering their questions because they think we're avoiding. Not at all. It's just there's so many. And I'm trying to get through them all, as well as the questions that also they submit via the platform. But
do we find out we have similar? Is there like a theme of questions? Like, do people tend to ask the same ones?
Yeah, a lot of them was launches for the abundance, for this SR tax, the money creator. There were other questions. I mean, people were asking about Iain. One of them was asking about where does he see himself? Is he going to be one of these CEOs going to make loads of money and forget the little people? So because obviously people see what happens with other corporates, there were sort of things. I mean, there were some questions about, I mean, it was like from Clive. I mean, I never got to it until I saw it really towards the end about timescales and with mortgage-free, natural justice. But as I said, there was just so many questions come through. We had about 160 odd people on there last night, so all asking so many questions. And of course you see one good question and then someone could put another 10 or 20 and then you lose it and you've got to scale back. But yeah, everything that's, so just for the record, that any questions submitted upon registration and during the presentation is recorded.
Okay.
I think what we need to do is we need to compile the questions that were asked and my answers, and we need to transcript that, and we need to make it available on the Matrix platform, and we need to repeat this in another week or two's time, Sims, because there were loads of questions we didn't get to, And I don't want anybody to think that I'm avoiding answering questions, because I'm not. People can ask me anything they want and I'll tell them the truth. But there's so many questions that were coming through. We had 70 questions before we even started, and then we had loads coming through during the webinar. You just couldn't get to them all. There was just too many questions to answer. So I answered loads of good questions, but there was some on there that I was just sensing there was some on there, like certainly Clive, about timescales, why are we changing our direction? Those types of questions, which I didn't get to because we ran out of time. So I want to do it again.
Touching on and talking about themes of questions, are there any that we can group together and then do like Q&As but on more niche topics? You can just sort of narrow it down that way.
You can categorise them. I tried to do that before the webinar. I ran out of time yesterday afternoon to spend a lot of time on it. So what I thought we would, and what we did was we sort of just work through them, but then there were loads of new ones coming in. And it's a bit difficult, isn't it, Sims? Because you've got existing questions and you've got loads of new questions coming through, and you could actually do with somebody else compiling the questions when they're coming through. Because I can appreciate for you, Sims, you're trying to look at the questions that are coming in and host and ask the questions. You can't ask and read all the questions at the same time.
Yeah. Well,
I'm wondering if we're able to niche it down, maybe we can do a Q&A on this topic this week and a Q&A on this topic this week, and then that might help with the sort of categorisation of questions.
Yeah, good idea.
Well, actually, I know, Fiona, you and I spoke some time ago, didn't we? We talked about doing a specific Q&A on sovereign reserve as well. So I know that's been discussed, so that's a good idea as well, Lauren. Just so you know, in the old days when Matt was hosting, because if you think Matt was hosting and I was dealing with all the questions, and then when I was literally off camera, he'd be sent all the questions from me through WhatsApp. So, but yeah, I feel like I think last night I needed another person anyway.
Yeah.
Next time one of us will jump in and help. I don't mind helping.
Yeah.
So just let us know, and one of us I'll jump in and help. Doesn't have an issue with that.
Great, Kirsty, thank you.
Yeah, I think we probably need to organise it differently, because I like your idea, Lauren. If we break it down to subjects and say tonight's webinar is on mortgage free, tomorrow night's is on sovereign reserve, the next night is on abundance, and we break it down, and therefore it's easier to focus on one thing at a time, because it's all too random otherwise.
Yeah.
One subject to subject, and some people aren't interested in mortgages because they don't have one, and they're interested in the abundance plan. So I think it's probably better if we do it that way.
That would go somewhere as well to reduce the number of sort of incoming calls potentially that teams get and having to do stuff on a one-to-one basis. Although there is merit in having that one-to-one conversation, it would hit, we could invite, and then it would hit a larger group in one go.
And then also if the team watch it pretty quickly, we can then, and a copy's put on the platform when we're having calls, we can say, oh, do you know what, that's a really good question, here's the answer. Iain spoke about it on this webinar, go and watch this Q&A.
Yeah.
Well, we did that some time ago with Sovereign Reserve, and I felt that really worked. Fiona, I don't know what your feedback was. I think it reduced a lot of the calls, didn't it? When we had a lot of clients had a lot of calls. And obviously, Fiona and her team did a really good job to ensure we had a specific group of people to come on this webinar, because it was in their interest. So
we sort of targeted
that particular webinar, was very successful.
Well, let's do this then, guys. Let's break it down by solution. We can use a very similar invitation, but we just define as to what the webinars, the questions are about. If we can get on the platform questions by category of solution, rather than just ask your question,
Yeah.
We're already doing that, are we?
We do that, yeah. So we can categorise them by product, but not what the question is relating to. That's all free text.
Okay, and I don't mind doing, every month I'll do a webinar on each of the solutions and answer a question. I don't mind doing it at all. I want, the communication is so critical in this sort of venture, because there's so much misinformation, so much confusion, so much rumour going round. that the only way to address it is just by keep answering the questions and recording everything on transcripts, so that you've got a record of what was said, when it was said, you know, who said it. And I don't have any fear of doing that, because I know it's good, because it's all truth.
Can I add to that also? Obviously, we had some questions with regards to Simon Goldberg. So obviously, Iain answered that as well.
And I'll tell you what I said. I didn't want to get into debunking his assertions and allegations. I didn't want to get in there. All I said was, which is truth, as far as I can see it, that I'm a member of You and Your Cash, a paid member. That's truth. I've been paying fees to Simon for the last 3 years to access his platform. I met Simon and I met Andy 2+ years ago, and Andy came and worked with us. And I don't think Simon likes it very much. It's what I believe. I don't know if that's true, but that's how I read it. Right? I accessed Simon's platform a couple of months ago because I wanted to look at something. I wanted to look at the IRS video that I'd heard about, where there's copies of checks from the IRS on recoupment on reclaims. That's what I wanted to look at. He obviously tracks everybody who comes to his website. He could see that I'd logged in. He sent me threatening messages telling me to fuck off, effectively, basically, in a nutshell. And that I wasn't welcome, and he banned me from his site. I then invited him to work together, because we should all be working together. We're all trying to achieve the same outcome. And I said that as far as I can see, Matrix Freedom and You and Your Cash is offering the same solutions. He does it where you have to DIY it yourself, and we facilitate it. But we're basically offering the same solutions. And if Simon wants to come and debate all of his assertions and allegations, I've invited him 10 times, and he has not taken my invitation up. And I invited him for the 11th time last night. If he's watching, or if somebody sends him a copy of the Q&A, because I have absolutely nothing to hide. Nor have we. And we shouldn't be fighting each other. It's ridiculous. We should all be working together to try and get remedy for people. That's what we should be doing. Not fighting each other. It's completely brain dead ridiculous. And that's basically what I said. I don't want to get into he said this and I say that, and he says this and I say that, because he'll just make more videos. Oh, Iain said this on his webinar and I say that. It's just never going to end. The only way to end it is to get the guy on a debate. And when lies meet the truth, guess who wins, guys? The truth always wins. So if he wants to, you know, have that debate, which is why he doesn't want to come to it, because he knows that the truth always beats the lie. That's why he doesn't want the debate. That's the way I see it. If he was that confident about his position, he'd come to the debate, wouldn't he? He doesn't want to come. He doesn't even comment when I invite him, apart from making ridiculous videos about, you know, me on a ship and all masturbator stuff, ridiculous stuff, childhood, you know, playground type stuff. So if his videos are causing upset internally, which I suspect might be the case, strongly suspect might be the case, if that is what's going on, because Simon is addressing his allegations to our staff, if that is what is going on, even if you're not aware of it, I believe it might be what's going on for some people. Because if you remember, I put a message on Teams, and that message, word for word, is in Simon's video. Now, how did he get hold of that?
What message?
I put a message on Teams about I wanted everybody to go on his video underneath YouTube and challenge him to a public debate. And that message, which is internal to teams, for our own team internally, was sent to Simon Goldberg, and he quotes it word for word on one of his videos. What? So somebody in our organisation is sending things to him.
Which, has anyone still got legacy access? Simone, Matt, anyone like that? Previous people? No, they've all been kicked off.
Yep.
Somebody who's got current access to team.
Which team was it in?
Has copied my message and sent it either directly to Goldberg or to somebody who knows him. And he's quoting it word for word on one of his videos.
I think it was in the Matrix Freedom family team.
Oh, it's in
the family chat one,
a family chat was one message where Iain had penned what his response was, and then there was a separate one with other information that detailed going on, commenting underneath the YouTube thing. Anyone within the organisation,
Right, okay.
So that tells me that somebody or a number of people are sympathetic to Simon Goldberg's stories. That's what it tells me. Otherwise, why would somebody internally send him that message? It doesn't make any sense unless you're sympathetic to his cause. That's what it tells me. Does anybody disagree with that? Do you all disagree with that?
No.
No?
Anyone got
any... Why would anybody internally send that to him unless they were supporting him in some way? So
either that, or it's been sent via a third party that's got to Simon.
Yeah, or it's the third parties. But why send it to anybody? It's
absolutely. Yeah.
It's private. It's our family. It's like, you're in your family and you have a row and you keep it in the family, don't you?
Yeah.
It's not a row. It's just me saying, I wanted everyone to go on his YouTube and say, if you're that confident, Simon, come to a debate.
Andy, I've just tagged you in the message, just so you've got it for record.
Thank you.
So I think it's very possible that some of his videos, or if not all of them, have been played by team members who don't understand enough about what we're doing and why we're doing it and how we're doing it, and they might be sympathetic to some of the things that Goldberg is saying. That is my theory. Unless people prove me wrong, I'm going to continue to have that belief. In all organisations, you have a small percentage of people that actually are anti what you're doing, but they never tell you that. I've seen it many times before.
May sound obvious, but have all the practitioners been taken off the system?
Yeah.
But were they gone at the point where that message was posted?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
All right.
Yeah.
Somebody who's still with us, who I want to be working in harmony with what we're doing, and they obviously aren't. So, it's not dwell on it too much. It's probably only a small problem, but we have to be aware of it. And it just means that now I won't trust sending anything private on the family chat.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a shame, isn't it? Because I don't want to have that atmosphere or a culture. I want us all to be facing in the same direction.
Yeah, breach of trust is at its most fundamental level just a simple thing like that. Even there's no trust agreement or anything like that, but there's an implied trust there, and it's breached, and then trust is damaged. And that shows you why it's all about such things. How important they are.
I agree. But it is what it is. You never get 100% of your team with you. There's always a small percentage that might not be with you, but you don't know about it. Have a look at the You know, have a look at the Roman Senate and you'll find out what I'm talking about. Julius Caesar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not a bad reference, is it?
Mm.
But there you go. That's just human nature. Guys, I've just noticed the time. I've got to go to the airport. So I'm sorry if I've been passionate. I don't mean to offend anybody. I'm trying to sort things out. I am tired. I've worked round the clock. I've been up really early this morning, worked late last night, worked all over the weekend. I'm just a bit tired. I'm passionate. Going to make this work. We are making it work. And I hope everybody is on board. If you're not, you know, if you're not on board, please tell me. If you are on board, let's just get on and do it. Yeah. If you're not on board, then don't fuck around and piss about. Just tell me, and we'll make other arrangements.
Have a nice holiday.
Yep.
I hope so.
When are you back?
Sunday.
Sunday. Okay, cool. Well, have a really good break, mate.
Enjoy.
Yeah, have a good one.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Cheers, guys.
All right.
See you next
See ya.
week.
Bye.
Bye.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.